Hello and welcome to another edition of TMO.live, the Media Online's video series where we ask newsmakers the tough questions and explore the hot topics. I'm the site's multimedia journalist, Michael Bratt. An event that dominated the headlines in recent times was the launch of BRC RAM, the new radio audience measurement model. With me to discuss this is CEO of the Broadcast Research Council, Clare O'Neil. Thanks for being here with me.
Pleasure, Michael. Nice to see you again.
So what does the new BRC RAM model offer that old methodologies did not?
I wouldn't use the word methodologies. I think it's really a case of, for 40 years, the industry had SAF RAMs, and when the BRC broke away from SAF, we created a new radio audience measurement system that is completely representative of the South African population. What we also brought into it, because we future-proofed the product before we even launched it or even started the program, was that it also brings in cross-device and cross-location listening by radio station, which gives a lot more texture and granularity to audience measurement.
Those factors have never been accessible to radio stations previously?
No, not through an audience measurement currency, if you like. No, not at all.
You talk about it being more representative of the South African population. The elephant in the room for radio research over the past 40 years has been that the methodology has never changed to make it representative of the actual South African demographics. Why was that?
Oh, Michael, very long story, but I think the SAF model worked when it was created in the 70s and probably in the 80s. But I think over time, I don't think SAF moved with the times. I think SAF tried to be all things to all media types, which I think probably from, I would suggest in the 90s was the wrong move. I think each media type needs its own currency. It needs to be independent of other currencies. And I think that, I think their attitude, twofold, and this is obviously my own personal view from my own personal experience, but twofold. I think the one is that SAF, I don't believe, worked for the industry. I think they worked against the industry in their refusal to change. And by this I mean the people who actually work there. The broadcasters tried to transform it on numerous occasions, but failed. And because of that, the broadcasters, both radio and television, broke away and created the Broadcast Research Council. I think that's the one point about the representation of the sample. The other point is that SAF's attitude, and Nielsen, by the way, they worked together on this. Their attitude was that weighting factors can correct the sample. So you can have a disproportionate sample, but weighting corrects it. We are of the view, with our new partner TNS, that create a good sample and weighting factors are used to balance it against the population. So I think that's the big difference. But yeah, I think that's all water under the bridge in that the broadcasters made the bold move of leaving SAF. And the agenda was quite simple: transform audience measurement systems, both radio and television, in this country. And with the broadcasters owning the majority stake in the ES and actually spearheading the ES program, all media is going to look and be representative of the South African population and read and measured the way it should be. Rather than in a disproportionate way, and you use weighting factors and maths and sums and statistics to make it look like the population.
It might be water under the bridge, but what impact do you think that disproportionate sample had for radio stations? I.e., would it be fair to say that the radio stations were giving out wrong numbers of listeners based on this disproportional sample?
I wouldn't say the radio stations were giving wrong numbers of listeners at all. I would suggest that radio stations were reporting on the numbers that this particular instrument that was deployed into the market brought back. Conversely, BRC RAM is another instrument. It's a completely different instrument, and that instrument is bringing back the numbers that it's bringing back now. So I wouldn't go as far as to say wrong. I would go far as to say it was a different methodology, and this particular methodology brought in these kind of results.
So your response to people who look at the BRC RAM numbers and they say, oh, this radio station has lost a lot of listeners?
I don't think that we should look at the data like that at all. You heard Chris Buerter at the launch talking about the elephant in the room of, did Metro really lose 2 million viewers? No, they didn't. The viewers might not have been there in the first place. That's point number one, because the methodology is so different. But point number two, this is the start of a whole new world, and this is the start of reading the market as it should be read. So if we talk about losing listeners, we could also talk about gaining. I mean, you were at the launch and you saw how so many of the community stations are now literally in the top 10 of audience share in every single province in the country. And one might say, oh wow, look how the communities have gained audiences. Well, the comment is those audiences were there all the time. They just weren't being read because the sample frame just didn't get to those people to read what was really going on. So I don't think one can make those kind of comparisons of gains and losses, etc. I think it's a matter of, again, reflecting on the fact that this is a different instrument that was deployed into the market, and these are the results that are coming back.
So exciting developments for radio.
I think it's great.
What is the future for BRC RAM now?
Well, BRC RAM comes out every quarter. So we launched the first 2 quarters. So we went into field Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June. That was the first quarter we released because the sample was robust enough to do so. We have an annual sample of 30,000. So essentially we released the 15,000 mark, if you like. At the end of February we'll release, we'll release again in November because we'll have July, August, September data, which we'll add to April, May, June, and we'll come out every single quarter. But what we're also doing is, whilst we release every quarter, we're also going to get the samples rolled for a whole year for the smaller stations, so that we do pick up enough data for them to go and deep dive into that granular level of cross-device, cross-location. It's what a pleasure. I mean, we're now seeing where people listen. We're seeing that they listen at work. We're seeing that they listen at shopping centres. We're seeing that they listen in vehicles. We're seeing that they listen in home. Not conversely, sort of cross-referenced with how they listen. We've also seen how many people actually listen through cell phones, through their little FM signal on a cell phone. I mean, that's data that we've never seen before, picked up before. So the future of RAMS is that it's an ongoing project. We're going to keep an eye on it all the time. We'll keep doing validations, as you saw in the launch. We'll keep it on track. Hopefully the sample frame can grow. I would love to see bigger sample sizes, but of course that's funding dependent. But I think when we release at the end of Feb this robust big sample of 30,000, I think we've got a very, very solid and exciting product on our hands.
Definitely something to keep eyes on.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you so much for those insights. I really appreciate you being here.
That's a pleasure, Michael.
And that was Clare O'Neil. She's the CEO of the Broadcast Research Council. Until next Wednesday, it's goodbye from me.